Today's episode is going to be some tough love. The question that I get nonstop is some variation of like, what about this symptom? What if you have this symptom? Did you have this symptom? Will this work for this symptom? And it's a myriad of symptoms. Some of them are symptoms I dealt with. Some of them are symptoms I never dealt with. But when I hear those questions, it has me realizing that you're doing something that I did. And that was you are focusing on the symptoms, not the system. You are trying to fix what your nervous system is producing instead of addressing why is it producing these symptoms? And I'm telling you guys, there is a growing body of evidence that the amount of symptoms that can be thrown under the nervous system dysregulation umbrella, it's growing by the day. And I have seen people heal from the most, intense conditions and diseases and syndromes that there's very little, I believe, is unhealable at this point. But normally what I'll tell people is if it is nervous system created, then yeah, these concepts are going to be very important for you to understand and to integrate. So you have these symptoms that you're experiencing and you're looking for anyone who can help you. And then I pop up on your screen, either on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. And I'm like, hey, listen, if you want these symptoms to stop, you need to accept them. You need to stop fighting them. And then your response is, okay, I get it. I need to accept my symptoms. But how do I do that? I get that question all the time. Okay, but how? Okay, but how? One of the most common responses that I get. So I want to talk about the gap that I think is out there on acceptance, because I think there's a lot of confusion around it. And I think a lot of people do struggle with the idea of acceptance. I don't think it's something that people naturally accept. I certainly didn't. I didn't. I want to say that in a very serious way. When this was presented to me, I was distraught about it and I wasn't distraught because of what acceptance actually is. I was distraught because of the meaning that I placed on it. I thought it meant accepting that this would be my life forever, that things would never improve, and that I should just give up ever hoping that they would change. That's not what acceptance is. Most people don't understand, like, what does it mean? What does it feel like? What does it look like? And what am I supposed to be doing? Or more importantly, as we'll get into this episode, not doing. And the biggest misunderstanding is that people think that acceptance is something you do to the symptom or with the symptom. They think of it like a little tool, like a hammer, like, okay, so I need to use acceptance on my symptoms. But acceptance is actually what happens when you stop trying to do anything about it. This is very important for you to understand. Acceptance isn't about what you do to the symptom. It's what happens when you stop doing anything about it. Acceptance is not something that you say. I've said it so many times, and I'm going to keep saying it because I feel very strongly about it that there are different phases of recovery. There are different stages of sensitization even. For me personally, as someone who is a big intellectualizer and someone who just would learn constantly and just using my noggin all the time, for me, having some type of cognitive conversation where I'm like, this is fine. I accept this. It's okay that this is here. It wasn't helpful. It was just contributing to me staying in my head. So this isn't something you say. And that's what a lot of people think when I talk about accepting the symptom is like, okay, I accept it. There can be a little bit of that. Maybe if it's helpful. I don't recommend it. I don't think that it's necessary. You don't sit there saying, I accept this sensation while constantly checking, okay, is it gone? Did it help? Is my acceptance working? And I think that's probably the biggest distinguishing factor is we judge whether or not acceptance is working based on what? Did I get better? Do I feel better? Are my symptoms better? And that's a slippery slope. That is not acceptance. That is just using acceptance as another tool. And I'm not a big fan of tools in stage one. And I talk a lot about stage one, and I will continue talking about the other stages, especially as I'm personally working through them. For this phase one, where you're creating this capacity and this ability to use these soft regulation techniques, we don't want to use this as a tool. It's a foundational way of understanding what's happening for you and allowing yourself to be with what is without needing it to change in order for you to feel better. So you can't have an agenda here. You can't have this agenda to make it stop faster, make it stop on your time. It's just not going to work. So let's talk very clearly about what acceptance is not, because these are some expectations that I think people have when they hear how valuable acceptance has been in people's recovery's journey. Acceptance is not feeling calm right away. It's not instant relief. It's not peace, at least not at first. It's not you needing to have this unwavering faith that it will go away. It's not liking it. It's not agreeing with it. And if you are waiting to feel that feeling of feeling accepting, you're going to be waiting forever. Acceptance looks completely different than those things. Here's what it actually looks like. It's about giving up the fight. I really want you to check in with yourself because I think we don't identify that the things we're doing are fighting. If you have a problem with your symptoms and you spend a lot of time monitoring them and checking them and scanning for them and solving them and all of that, I want you to know all of that is fighting. It is a resistance to what is. It is saying, this is here and I want it gone. I'm going to figure out a way to make this go. That's the main thing that needs to be given up. It's giving up the fight. It's giving up the mental commentary, all the meaning you're putting onto it, the catastrophic thinking, the what does this mean for my future, the future casting, the beliefs that you have around what it means for you and how you can't bear it any longer and how you can't live like this and how you're running out of hope. And I get it. Trust me. I have been there. I have gone to the depths of darkness throughout this journey, struggling very, very deeply with my belief in my ability to continue. So I understand what a big ask this is, but we have the option on whether or not we add that mental commentary, and it adds such suffering when you're sitting around saying, I can't do this anymore. While you, I know, hard to hear, are doing it. You are bearing it. You are dealing with it. And it gets really scary when you're having a really, really hard day and you're saying, I can't do this specific hard day forever. You don't have to. That's our brain trying to make meaning out of what we're experiencing right now by pasting it on every other day for the rest of our life. Other things that acceptance looks like is not checking, not always constantly scanning your body, tracking your symptoms. I used to always say that when I was in a conversation with somebody, I would be with you, I was half with you, and I was half with my pain. I was scanning my face for the facial pain, the tingling, the numbness, the burning, the aching, my toes, my shins, my scalp, everything. I was always checked into that. And I didn't realize that it was automatic, but it also became a choice at a certain point. And I needed to choose when I was re-engaging with that to re-engage with my life. And that made a huge shift for me. Probably the biggest change that needs to happen for you to embody acceptance is letting the symptom be very, very loud in the background while you continue to live your life. This is so challenging. I think about where I was a year ago where I got so fed up. I just couldn't do it anymore. I had spent an entire year scaring myself, spending so much time in these Facebook groups and trying to learn everything that I could. And it was just hopelessness, just people who had struggled with these things for 30 years and it just got worse. And I couldn't stay in that space anymore. I got so tired of the fight, so tired of trying to figure it out and make it go away that I just said, if this is going to be here, I'm going to make cinnamon rolls. If this is going to be here, I'm going to go play with my nephew. If this is going to be here, I'm going to take my kids to a trampoline house. I felt like I was dying inside for many, many of those activities. It was fake it till you make it. It was, I know this is good for me. And I know at some point my nervous system will remember what it's like to be present where you're at. So a huge part of my recovery was, come on, symptoms, we're going. And you can be loud. Because before that, I was scaring the crap out of myself and then telling myself, well, once I heal, once these symptoms go down, then I can do something fun. Then I can be present. Then I can, build my business. Then I can do these things, but not yet. I need to wait for this to quiet down. Sorry. When you're waiting for it to quiet down, you're still signaling danger because you're avoiding your life. When you start living your life with the symptom there, the symptom starts to quiet. It's like a miracle. But it's going to feel not sexy. It's going to feel boring. It's going to kind of feel like resignation. Again, not to ever getting better, but to the fight. It's going to feel neutral and, you might feel exhausted at first. And it's interesting. I think some of that exhaustion comes from the fact that you were running at such this high level. I remember for me, I felt like I was like in a tunnel when I was on my phone trying to figure stuff out for 9 hours a day. And that was using up so much of my energy. But I was also like, I had this endless supply of energy, maybe cortisol and adrenaline. But once I stopped engaging in that, it was like my body had to recalibrate. I felt exhausted. So it's not going to be something where you instantly feel peace and joy. And it's just you finally getting to the point where like, I'm done arguing with this situation. I'm done resisting it. I'm done telling myself it should be different. I'm done trying to get to the bottom of it. Because my guess is my content isn't the first content you're finding, right? You've tried to get to the bottom of it, and your brain will always tell you there's like, but what if there's a supplement? What if this brain retraining program is whatever? Like what we need a reminder about the basics. We need a reminder about all the things we're doing that are signaling threat. That's what we need. We don't need some 30-step process that's going to take 4 hours a day that is, again, putting our brain into fix-it mode. So once you get fed up, that's a great time for acceptance to kind of come into play, because you're like, I've tried it all. So there's a reason why I repeat these things over and over and over. And it's because people keep asking me, and will continue for as long as I'm teaching on this, the exact same questions before implementing any of the stuff I'm telling you to stop doing. And I get it, because there was a time where it was giving health OCD. Now I had really real symptoms. I'm still working through some of these physical symptoms, but I had compulsive issues with being on my phone and researching and going on Reddit and going in Facebook groups and searching all these keywords and all this stuff. And, every link on Google was purple. When I joke about reading the whole internet, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. I learned everything I possibly could about my conditions. A spoiler alert, not good news. So when I first started working with this coach, a big aspect of it was stopping the compulsive behaviors. And I felt like I was quitting drugs. I felt so addicted to that reassurance. I would tell people it was the only thing getting me from day to day for a long period of time. And so imagine taking away that safety blanket. It felt very, very dangerous. My symptoms did not go down. They went very high up, and that's very normal. I want to normalize that. It's very, very common. When you start doing things that are going to be helpful, your symptoms are going to make it seem like what you're doing is not helpful. You really can't trust what the symptoms are doing based on whether or not you're doing the right thing. I think that's one of the things I hate about this whole process, is that it's like, oh my gosh, things have gotten so much worse. Well, that may not be a bad sign. That may be a sign that you're doing everything right. Actually, an increase in symptoms is a good sign. It tells your nervous system, your symptoms are on the run, and you're giving it a run for its money. Like I hate it. I hate that it works that way. So I'm just trying to express that while the things that I share are very, very simple and very basic and very foundational, in practice, they're very challenging. I was counting my days. I was trying to stay, off of even watching recovery stories. I watched those compulsively. It was like lifeblood to me. I didn't know how I was going to get by without it. So I'm asking you to do something that you're probably not stopping doing because it feels dangerous. And that's danger, that's discomfort, that's uncertainty that we have to learn to sit in. And I'm so grateful that when I finally decided to go all in, that I took that type of approach where it was me getting better at feeling bad. It was me getting more comfortable with the reality of the way things were. It was me leaning into uncertainty. Because once I started doing that, then the fear of uncertainty came down and my capacity came up. So I feel very grateful that I was kind of led in the direction that I was led in, because I wasn't looking to feel better right away. I was looking to make peace with how bad I felt, hoping that it would just give me some capacity to make some different choices. And spoiler alert, it did. So most people think that acceptance is something that you add, something that you do, like tell me what to do, tell me what I need to add to my life. It's something you remove, in my opinion, at least at first. So I want you to remember subtraction before addition. You don't need to worry about things you need to add. You don't need to worry about, tools that could be helpful. Should I meditate? Should I do this? Don't worry about any of that if you're still doing all the things that are sending these blaring danger alarms to your nervous system. I want you to focus on what you're going to remove. And here are some ideas. I want you to remove urgency. Like, I need this to go away, and I need this to go away fast. I have a wedding in 6 months. We don't have any control over that. Urgency is a threat signal. Your nervous system is going to process that like danger. We need to remove the urgency. We need to remove the timelines. You need to remove the meaning. Whatever you're giving this about what it means about you or what your future holds, that's also very uncertain. We won't have answers to that, and we don't need answers to that in order to create some safety. You need to remove the need for resolution. This is probably the most challenging part. I think I laugh sometimes because I took acceptance all the way to the extreme. Like someone would be like, I have a fear of death. And I'm like, oh, I made peace with that as well. I made peace with everything. I just was like, it was finally me empowering myself to be like, Maggie, you're not in control here. I know you hate that, but your quest for control is destroying you. What do we have to lose by giving up that quest for control? I haven't been able to force change yet. And maybe I need to just allow it to happen on its own terms, not on mine. So that was an important shift that I had to make too, because your body will finally shift when you stop signaling danger. That's going to come from what's going on in your external environment, what's going on in your internal environment. Your nervous system will stop responding like there's danger when you stop signaling the danger. And we do a lot that signals danger because it all has to do with how we process these sensations. When they come up, whether it's anxiety, whether it's pain, whether it's just a sensation, there's so much that we do with that. We don't leave it there. We don't let it be. We grab onto it and we make meaning out of it. We try to find a solution for it. There's so much engagement with what we're experiencing. And the nervous system responds like there's danger because you are contributing to signaling danger. It's innocent, of course. Of course. Again, another thing I hate about nervous system healing, it's like, I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to make this better. And it's like, yeah, I know. And that's why you're making it worse. And it's awful. It's so frustrating. But that's why I like to keep it real and talk very directly about this kind of stuff, because this is the truth. This is the truth of how it works. And it requires a level of acceptance that I don't like the way that it works. I do not like the way this has to be resolved. And it's the way that it resolves. So what am I going to do? So your goal here is building capacity, because when you build capacity, the system can recalibrate. The things that I did within the first year of my recovery gave me capacity. I had no idea how empowering capacity would be and what a gift it would be that even though my symptoms weren't gone, I was able to manage everything better. I was able to respond better. I was able to live my life more. Like I needed to make space. We're trying to do all this shit on top of being out of alignment and being overstretched and being overworked and stressing our system out and stressing ourselves out. And then we're trying to like do brain retraining and interrupt our thinking. And it's like, dude, you have to create space. You have to create space for regulation. You have to create conducive environment for healing. And that's the main stuff that I focus on. Because yeah, if you do this, a lot of the time, the symptoms, they're going to fade. Because if these symptoms are coming from perceived danger and an alarm system, when the alarm stops blaring, the symptoms are not needed anymore. So if you're still asking, like, am I doing this right? How do you do acceptance right? That tells me you're still trying to control the outcome. And control is the opposite of acceptance. It's very important that you know that. Anytime you're trying to like latch on to doing it perfectly, doing it right, you have to be open to even the possibility that you're doing it wrong. That's another part of acceptance too. Like, yeah, maybe I am doing it wrong. Maybe I'm going to waste another year. And if I do, I guess I do. Those kind of statements were intolerable for me. So I could feel the shudder from people in the audience when I said that. No, I don't have another year. I guess we'll find out. That's the level of unbothered that we're working toward, because it makes you not a control freak anymore. And then things finally have the ability to shift when you get out of the way. Okay. So here's how to know if you're actually accepting, which I know you guys will love this little checklist. Okay. You will know that you're accepting if you're not trying to solve anything today. Whatever it is today that you're dealing with, rock on. That's what we're dealing with. What do you want to do? Do you want to go to Trader Joe's? What's the plan for today? We're not solving anything today. Number 2, you're not waiting for symptoms to leave before you start living your life. You're taking those symptoms with you. You're letting them be there until they are not there anymore. And you're not monitoring constantly for improvement. One of the most common things I've heard in the mind-body space is people say, it's funny because the symptoms will leave and you won't even know that they left. And you probably think that's crazy right now. You think it's crazy because of how much attention you pay to the symptoms. If the symptoms are leaving all these people and they don't even realize that that's happening, that means they're so engaged in their life that the symptoms have become irrelevant. The symptoms are just whatever. You're coming with me, to the point where they're gone without you even realizing it. Okay. And that's so much of this, like you becoming less interested in the symptom and way more interested in your own life. Very, very, very important. If the symptoms are the center stage for your life, you're going to stay stuck. And I say that super lovingly because it's just the way that it works. The more you focus on that, the more your brain gives you of that to deal with. It's kind of like an algorithm, okay? So the answer, yes, it, at least initially in the beginning, to get this ball rolling, it really is acceptance. But it's not the kind of acceptance where you just say the right words and you say, I accept this symptom. Your nervous system is going to call bullshit on that. It's not going to buy it. It is the kind of acceptance where you decide to stop fighting. And that is when healing actually has the space to happen. We need to create that space, like I said, create the environment for healing to be available to us. So your job is to create that space, even if it takes longer than you want, even if it's messy, even if it's nonlinear, which it will be, and even if things get worse before they get better, which they will be. They are going to get worse before they get better. But that's normal. I want you to remember that you've already been bearing it and things can still get better. Even if it's not on your timeline, try not to get super caught up in the but how. Sometimes that's just a delaying tactic. The most important thing to do is to focus on subtraction before you focus on addition. We can get into addition later on future episodes, but for now, I want you to focus on the things that you're most likely doing that are keeping these symptoms really locked on and not giving you the capacity to make different choices and to be able to get to the exciting part, because it does get more fun when you start being able to add stuff in. So I hope this episode was helpful for you guys, and I'll see you next week.